Recently, I worked with a coworker who wasn't sure how to go about scheduling her first project that involved multiple departments and an outside vendor. In this presentation, I'll go over the basic guidelines I gave her, which are general enough to fit most projects. Your first step should be talking to the project sponsor about what it is meant to accomplish and why it's important to the organization. While the project sponsor will provide one view of the project, you also need to keep in mind what other projects are being worked on and how important the new project is in relation to the others. You should also find out what the sponsor's preferred deadline is. I say preferred deadline because often there is more flexibility in the project than its sponsor knows about or will admit. Before you can commit to a deadline, you need to think about all of the tasks involved in this project, who will need to work on it, which other projects are also being worked on, and where this project fits into the organization's priorities. Continuing with that theme, you can't start creating a schedule before you fully understand the scope of the project. If you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, you can't create a schedule to finish it. Don't think about just what needs to be done, but also think about who needs to do it. To really understand the project, you need to talk to everyone who will be involved in its completion. Ask a lot of questions so you really understand what needs to be done. First, think about all of the tasks that need to be done. What steps are necessary to complete them, and who needs to be involved? How long will it take each person to complete each task? You want to get a range estimate, such as 6 to 8 hours, instead of a single number. It's also better to have people overestimate their time than to underestimate. Finally, discuss when people are available to work on the project. When can't they work due to other projects, vacations, and commitments? Conversely, when would they prefer to work on the project? As you talk to the people involved, pay attention to which tasks are dependent on others. Are there tasks that need to be done before other tasks can begin? In what order do the pieces need to be done? And are there constraints on when a task can be completed, such as a person being on vacation during a certain week? Now that you've gathered a lot of information from the people involved, you are ready to start creating a schedule. You'll want to do this on your own versus in a group. It's often a slow, frustrating process to do this with multiple people at once. I've also found that it's easier for people to thoughtfully comment on the schedule when they are able to see it first in draft form. Keeping in mind the project's dependencies and constraints, start arranging the tasks into a timeline. Remember to leave some extra time in the schedule to deal with problems that will inevitably arise. With your draft schedule in hand, give everyone involved the opportunity to offer their feedback. If you sense people will want to make changes or will have disagreements, have the group meet in person. That way, if one person suggests a change, the affected parties can discuss their concerns and negotiate an agreement right away. Once everyone has reviewed the initial draft and suggested changes, create a revised draft of the schedule. Repeat until everyone agrees and signs off. It's important to get everyone on the same page now, so there aren't questions and confusion later. Despite our best efforts, we can't always meet the sponsor's preferred deadline. In this case, it's important to ask some additional questions. First, is it possible to reschedule people's other project work? Or can we reassign that work to other staff members? Is it possible to bring in outside resources? Though keep in mind, more people doesn't always mean more work done. 9 women can't make a baby in 1 month, after all. If we can't reassign, reschedule, or increase resources, can we get the most important pieces of the project done by the deadline and then finish the rest of the project afterward? These are all options. But that said, you also need to ask yourself, how important and urgent is the project in the scheme of things? Is the project being driven by a law change or major business strategy, or is it something less important? If the project really isn't a high priority, it doesn't make sense trying to rearrange schedules and bring in extra people just to meet an unreasonable deadline. You may need to negotiate the deadline and the overall schedule with the project sponsor. Hopefully you've been able to navigate your way to creating a solid schedule for your project that takes into account the work that needs to be done, who will do it, and when, and what the dependencies and constraints are. Your efforts will help keep this project on schedule. However, note that it's not a question of if things will go wrong, but when. Make sure you've built in enough extra time so you can recover from unexpected problems. Use your agreements with the people involved to hold them accountable to the schedule and the deadlines they've committed to. Then use your experience with this project to better plan your next. Good luck!